While Hackmatack reaches readers and writers beyond our region, our office is located in Jibuktuk, also known as Halifax, and our program is based in the Atlantic provinces. We would like to acknowledge the land where our program takes place. The Hackmatack Future Voices Showcase is produced in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship which Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1725. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. We are all treaty people, and we have rights and responsibilities as Mi'kmaq and settlers. Hackmatack is committed to allyship, and we have pledged to do our best to amplify the voices of Mi'kmaq people.
I'm Sylvia Parris-Drummond, CEO of the Delmore Daye Learning Institute here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm also a member of the board of the Hackmatack Children's Choice Book Award. Every year, our goal is to present short lists that ensure underrepresented and underserved children are able to see themselves in great Canadian books. And we acknowledge we need to go further. Children who have always been able to see themselves in books must also get a true sense of the diversity in the wider world. That diversity may not be reflected in their own communities. We use the acronym BIPOC to refer to people who identify as Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We know there are more BIPOC artists writing and illustrating great books and stories for children that we currently see in print. We know there are more BIPOC artists that are already well known to our readers. So we decided to find some of those people. We're excited to introduce you to just a few of the up and coming BIPOC artists who are writing and illustrating books for children. Many of them are right here in Atlantic Canada. We hope you enjoy meeting them in our Future Voices Showcase. Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Keonté Beals. I am a multi-award-winning musician from North Preston, Nova Scotia. I have been able to perform on stages all across Canada, primarily on the East Coast. Every day is a blessing. Last year in June 2020, I launched my very own company, Beals Entertainment. It was one of the most fulfilling moments of my entire career, a dream that I've had since I was 6 years old. Through my company, I self-published and released my very first children's book, I Am Perfectly Me. And even better, I linked up with my baby brother Antonio Beals to do it. Antonio is 10 years old and a student of Nelson Winder Elementary School in North Preston. Together we created this book from scratch. When I was Antonio's age, I used to write and illustrate my own novels and comics all the time. That's where I got my start before that same gift of writing eventually transitioned into songwriting. The book highlights children of different ethnicities and recognizes their differences as being beautiful, which is where the title came from, I Am Perfectly Me. Creating this book was such an amazing process. From dry sketching and writing to the digital painting and coloring. Creating the individual characters and connecting the stories to real-life stories surrounding my family and friends. I am so grateful. We are so grateful. Thank you to everybody who has been supporting this project. We love you.
Hi, my name is Antonio Beals. I'm going to be reading I Am Perfectly Me. I love my brown skin and my beautiful brown eyes and my curly black hair with a poof just the right size. I get on the bus to start my day. When I see my friends, I have a lot to say. I have to wear glasses because it's hard for me to see. My mom says they make me beautiful. I am perfectly me. The park is my favorite. I feel so at home there as the wind blows calmly through my silky fine hair. I am very different that we can agree, but that's the best part. I am perfectly me. I love everybody no matter the shape, color, or size. My friends are all special, both the girls and the guys. I love cinnamon fries with salt from the sea, with lots and lots of mustard. I am perfectly me. Both my mom and dad have went on to heaven. I still feel them every day guiding me in the right direction. I have a big imagination and many beautiful dreams. I love the person I am. I am perfectly me.
Hey everybody, I just want to take this time to say thank you guys so much to everybody who's been supporting the book and been making it such a hit. And I really believe in this project, and I believe that representation is the answer to a lot of the things that are going on today. And I've gotten the chance to go to the schools personally and see the difference it's been making. And a lot of you may not know, but we've been doing a virtual school tour since the beginning of February. And so we've been seeing just how this book has actually been acting almost as an anti-racism and anti-bullying serum for generations to come. And so I'm so grateful. Thank you guys so much. And I just want to say much love, and I appreciate you.
So my name is Letitia Fraser. I am from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I am the illustrator on a book that's coming out at the end of the year. And I'm really excited to have that first book experience. So I've been interested in illustration since I was a child. Those were my main, being a writer and an illustrator were my main dreams. But because I am undiagnosed, well, at the time I was undiagnosed dyslexic, I didn't go for the writing portion. I went for the painting and drawing portion. And then I just followed that dream to NASCAD, drawing from my experience, being an African Nova Scotian woman, and the history and everything, and putting that into my work. I found that my paintings were pretty narrative. So I was putting a lot of, stories into my work. And so that just kind of transitioned into people being interested in my work and wanting it for their books. And they liked the style that I painted in, and what I was painting about. And so they, would get basically commissioned to do some illustrations. So when I was younger, my mother, she painted, my eldest uncle painted as well. And so I grew up just around what I was already passionate about. And so I was very lucky to just have that around me already. David Woods was another artist, a family friend that I grew up around. He also is a writer and a poet, and so I grew up around him and my cousin Keonté Grant, and so I had people that were already kind of either becoming really great in in the African Nova Scotian community or were already established. And so I had I would consider them to be giants, and in my eyes, or people to look up to, I guess, just around me. Some advice I guess I could give is it's kind of hard to find a style, an illustration style. So the best thing, I guess, the tip that I would give is to find your favorites and then kind of mix them together. And then ultimately, draw inspiration from your favorites. And even in the, fine art world, that's kind of where you find and develop your own style. Is drawing from either nature or your favorite artists or whatever, but mixing all those things together and then making your own. Something else I would say is to try to be consistent with the look, the overall look. I think you could change it up a little bit, but to keep certain things solid so people recognize your work is probably a good tip as well. So the age range I would say is maybe like 9 to 11, and the story is pretty much set in Nova Scotia, and it's based off of the author's experience living here. My overall hope is to do what I've always wanted to do, which is be an illustrator and a writer, and to make books that hopefully inspire young African Nova Scotians, like boys and girls, but then also people that do follow underneath that neurodivergent category that may be that could be helpful. I do write, and that is the plan, to then write and publish my own book.
Hi there, I'm Daniel Henriquez, author of When Squirrels Fly, coming to you from my home studio of Out of the Tree Productions here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Yes, that's where I'm from, and that's where the story takes place. I just want to tell you a little about myself, my book, and how it all came to be. And to begin with, I'm an ex-WestJet employee, just recently retired due to the pandemic. But I wrote this book a few years ago, just something for my kids to begin with, but the idea was to encourage children to want to go see the world and travel for themselves, not just read about it in books, but actually go. So, ironically, I wrote a book about it, and again, but the idea is to encourage them to go see other cultures, learn about their foods and languages. I think there's something important about going to a foreign country where you feel a little uncomfortable. You don't speak the language, you're not sure what's going on. It helps be more empathetic to people who come to our country that are, they don't know what's going on, and you're a little more inviting and hospitable, and that's an important thing for us as Canadians. I've traveled a lot. I've been to Japan. In fact, my second book in the series takes place in Japan. A little bit of a teaser there. But I traveled there with my 10-year-old to kind of show her the ways of travel, as I've traveled quite a bit. But I've also been to Egypt. In fact, I've been inside a pyramid. I've been as far north as the Arctic Circle in Norway, where I climbed a mountain at midnight to watch the sun not set, because at that time of year the sun doesn't go down. And I've been as far south as the Andes in Chile. So I've traveled quite a bit, and I just want other people to learn about traveling, and it's a wonderful thing to experience. And so that was the inspiration of the idea. Now, the inspiration of the book itself was something else. Now, as I said, I work for WestJet. I worked at the airport. And one day while waiting for a plane to come in, I was looking at the window, and I noticed a little squirrel scampering around the tarmac below. And I wondered, why is there a squirrel at the airport? There's not a tree around for miles, but there he was. Now, I was concerned for his safety, considering there are tractors and pulling carts of bags and bridges that move back and forth to let people on and off the planes, or the planes themselves. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong. Now, as I was watching, he suddenly stopped and started looking at the building. Now, directly below me was the door to the bag room, a garage door type of thing. It kind of goes up and down. Now, I could tell the door was beginning to lift, and that's what he was looking at. Now, the dangerous part is there's a tractor obviously about to come out, but the tractor has to wait till the door is fully lifted so it can move. But as it was cracked to the bottom, the little guy decided to run into the building, and that's where the inspiration struck. I thought, what if he gets into someone's bag looking for food? And what if that bag gets thrown to a plane? And what if that plane takes off? Where would this little guy be? And hence the title, When Squirrels Fly. Now, the character himself that I created was named Apollonius. He's a little bit of a philosopher squirrel, but he's quirky and weird, and his best friend is a bird because he doesn't get along with the squirrel community. And so, as the story begins, their favorite thing to do is to go dumpster dining at some of the fanciest restaurants in Winnipeg. And so one day while they're sitting in the back of a dumpster talking about life, she says, well, she's flying south for the winter. And he gets lonely because she leaves him every year and he wants to go too. So he starts talking about learning how to fly. Well, you can't fly, you're a squirrel. Well, as you can notice in the cover here, this character I'm pointing at now, his name is Barry. Barry's a flying squirrel from Chicago, lost, end up here in Winnipeg and needs some help to get home. So my other characters, that's the whole plot of the story, trying to figure out a way to get him home. Meanwhile, Apple's got some ideas in his head about meeting a flying squirrel and he thinks, hey, maybe I can figure it out too. Well, you have to read the book to find out how that all comes to be, but that's the inspiration of the story. And so I wrote the book, I published the book, I went through a publishing company in the States, things kind of went sideways. I had to pull my contract and I republished, self-published here in Canada. So a lot of the things that you have to do to publish a book, I had to do on my own, get an ISBN number and all those things that come with it. So I was able to publish and I got some success at the beginning through a few different bookstores that I do my own marketing. And hopefully you'll enjoy reading my book and be encouraged to go and see the world for yourself once this pandemic lets up and we're able to go out and see things for ourselves. So I just encourage you to read the book, enjoy it, have fun, and thank you for your time. My name is Daniel Henriquez. I'm the author of When Squirrels Fly. Thanks for listening.
Hi, my name is Ava Jones and I live in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I've been drawing traditionally for as long as I can remember, but I've only been drawing digitally for about a year now. I usually draw traditionally for planning, and for finished art pieces I draw digitally. I usually draw animals, mostly dogs. I'm not really sure what inspires me as an artist. I use Procreate for drawing, and for animation I use Flipperclip. I use Flipperclip because I did a lot of research into it, and it had features and tools that I thought would help me. Here is my portfolio.
Hello, my name is Aliyah. I'm 16 years old and I'm a published author. I was born in Canada, grew up in Mexico, and came to live in Halifax, Nova Scotia in 2016. When I was younger, I used to write poems for my abuela in Mexico. She always told me I would be a writer, and I didn't believe her. It wasn't until years later when her words started to come true. I wrote my first original story, which was about a rabbit, when I was 11 years old. I've been writing ever since. I remember one day, when I was 13, wanting to read a book about a kid who'd go through a magical adventure. I wanted to read something where he'd go through this amazing journey, with challenges along the way that were unique and different. Since I couldn't find a book with what I specifically wanted, I wrote it. I submitted Northwind to the Hui Zhou's writing contest in 2018. From the start, I had big goals for my story. I knew I wanted to publish it, and I told my mom just that. I told her, I'm publishing this novel before I turn 14. She was cautiously optimistic, but I was absolutely confident that it would happen. So when the call came from Hui Zhou's, I was on cloud 9. Not only was I the winner for my age category, but Northwind was chosen for publication in honor of Hui Zhou's 40th anniversary. I had submitted stories to the contest before, and each time I received excellent feedback that encouraged me to keep writing. Publishing was just the next big step for me, and the entire process was an incredible learning experience. After going through the writing, the editing, and the marketing of my book, I'd say the hardest part of it all is actually finishing draft 1. I remember sitting before my keyboard, hands trembling as I wrote the last sentence in Northwind. Finishing a novel, being able to say, I've done it, I've written everything I wanted to say, is one of the most incredible feelings in the world. Sure, editing, something entirely new to me back then, was a pain, but it was part of the process as well. Since publishing Northwind, I can happily say that I've become a better writer. Writing it was just the first stepping stone in a wide river of learning. I'm still learning about the craft of writing, and I do plan to publish many more books in the future. In the coming years, I want to expand into more genres, write more short stories, and continue to improve my writing. Also, my book is being sold at Hui Zhou's, and it's for 8 to 15-year-olds if you'd like to go on a magical adventure. And thank you everyone for your time. Enjoy the rest of the festival.
Good day, everybody. My name is Natashia Moodie, and I am the author of Little Tree and Wapask the Polar Bear. I am a Cree woman from Nisichawayasik Cree Nation in northern Manitoba, Canada. I just wanted to let everybody know about the book Little Tree. This book is about a book on climate change for children in the ages or the grades from 1 to 3. And the book mainly focuses on the importance of trees and the impacts of the words of climate change and global warming that's happening in our world today. The book came to me when I was traveling. I work as a nurse as well. That's my other profession. I was traveling and I was looking at the trees, and it just dawned on me that, I was just looking at the pure beauty of spruce trees. And in my region of northern Manitoba, Canada, we have an amazing amount of beautiful trees out here. And I really wanted to write a story about the importance of our spruce trees, all our trees in general around the world, and their very important job for us as human beings. Like they breathe in carbon dioxide and they exhale safe, healthy oxygen for us to breathe. And I just thought that we needed to really emphasize and make people remember the importance of our Mother Earth and the nature. Our responsibility as humans is to take care of the earth, because the earth really ultimately takes care of us too. So that's why I wrote Little Tree. So I will read a Little Tree for everybody and show you some pictures. I think I would definitely love to keep keep writing, and definitely write for the older kids as well. I'm very passionate about Mother Earth, and helping in any kind of way to maintain a healthy environment. So I write and I sing about helping keep Mother Earth safe and healthy. Okay, hello everybody. This is Little Tree, the book that I authored. This book is about a young spruce tree, that is from the boreal forest of northern Manitoba, where I'm from, who longs to experience the world outside of his own roots. So through the help of a First Nations warrior named Strong Eagle Man, Little Tree witnesses the scary impacts of climate change. And now he is on a mission with Strong Eagle Man, to take action before it's too late. So there we go. Can you see that? Okay. In a deep forest far, far away in northern Manitoba stood Little Tree. Little Tree was a spruce tree and grew up in the boreal forest of the northern hemisphere. As Little Tree grew, he became more and more curious about the world around him. He wanted to learn the ways of his wildlife friends and other beings around him like humans. Little Tree is a very, very curious spruce tree. Day by day, Little Tree stood strong and watched all the activities of the wildlife around him and often asked questions to his wildlife friends. I wonder what it would be like to just get up and leave, he asked his friend Musqua, bear in Cree. Musqua replied, if you leave this place, your roots, you will not survive. You will be one less tree to provide safe oxygen to supply the world. You may think you're only one tree, but you are very important to our everyday lives. Mahigan, which means wolf in Cree, listening to their conversation, walked up and said, we need you to stand healthy and strong for us all to live a healthy life. Without you, we would get very sick. One day, a young man from a nearby First Nations community was walking through the forest, picking berries and making offerings to Mother Earth for feeding his family and community. Little Tree watched this young man with amazement, wanting so badly to walk beside him and talk to him about so much. As the young warrior got closer, Little Tree asked, excuse me, sir, what is your name and what is your purpose? The young warrior replied, my name is Strong Eagle Man. I am a warrior in my community, and I've come into the forest to pick berries for my family and community to eat. I also look for traditional medicines to help my people who are sick, like Labrador tea, chaga mushrooms, blueberries, wikis, and spruce gum. Little Tree was pleased and asked, may I please join you? I've always wanted to learn about the world around me. Strong Eagle Man, a little confused, and replied, do you know how important you are to the earth? Little Tree, you are the great lung of our world. You breathe in carbon dioxide and exhale healthy oxygen into the atmosphere. Without you, the earth will be in trouble. My people and many others would get sick, and there would be devastation everywhere. See that cool little drawing of the cycle of oxygen or carbon dioxide and oxygen being released. Little Tree replied, I understand, but I would like to see all the things my wildlife friends talk about. Strong Eagle Man said, okay, my friend, come with me. I will show you what is happening out there today. I will show you what is hurting our Mother Earth. Walking along, Strong Eagle Man said, I believe this is very important for you to hear about and see. The man-made hydro dams, the mines, cars, trucks, planes, they're all releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, causing global warming and making Mother Earth warmer and the forests drier. This is causing forest fires around the world. This is what we call climate change, and it will get much worse if nothing is done. Little Tree and Strong Eagle Man began walking through the forest, and not far away, they came across a man-made hydro dam. Little Tree sat and looking around, saw that his tree family along the tree line were being flooded and washed away. Little Tree sadly asked, what is happening? Strong Eagle Man replied, it's a man-made dam to provide hydroelectric power for mankind. There are many around the world. Little Tree asked, don't they know how these things like hydro dams and mining is hurting my tree family, the wildlife, and the whole environment? Strong Eagle Man replied, yes, my friend, but humans believe they need these things to survive. Little Tree replied, well, how will they survive without us trees and Mother Earth? Strong Eagle Man replied, that, my tree brother, is another thing the human race must think about and respect. Without trees and a healthy Mother Earth, humans will not survive. So this book, Little Tree, really has some very vital information for us to try and save our planet. And it gives us educational points to encourage others to, take action before it's too late for climate change and global warming. I hope people enjoy it. I really enjoyed writing it. And if you wanted to read more of the book, it is available on Amazon. And you can catch me on a personal page on Facebook so far. So I'd just like to say thank you for listening to a portion of Little Tree. The book, like I said, the book is available on Amazon. And this book is very important to me because of its contents on climate change and global warming, but also it also teaches people about the traditional medicines, the traditional ways of the First Nations people, of my people that are Cree people in northern Manitoba, Canada. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Jack Wong, and I'm an author and illustrator based out of Jackwong, or Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm really thrilled and honored to be included in the FutureVoices Showcase. The focus on BIPOC voices means a lot to me because all the things that I create, even in some small way, are influenced by my background and my family's history and story of immigration. My grandparents on my mom's side are from Malaysia and Indonesia. And on my dad's side, his family was originally from China and displaced in Macau for a number of years. I was born in Hong Kong, and we moved to Vancouver when I was very young. That's where I grew up. And finally, in 2010, I moved to Halifax to study fine arts at NSCAD University, and I've been here ever since. So besides a geographic journey, I've also had a diverse journey in career experiences. I've worked in bridge engineering, researching in psychology, bookkeeping. For a while I owned a bicycle repair shop, and over time I've come to accept and also be very glad for that diversity of experiences and, well, basically the way I've jumped around and the way that I like to speak about my experience and write about my experience is all meant to help young readers understand that their varied experiences are wonderful as well, even if they don't follow a straight line, or even if it's not what other people may expect or what may make sense to other people. So I'm often also inspired by nature in my art and writing. So today I thought I would read something that has a combination of all my different interests. It's a story about two boys from different backgrounds who go on a camping trip together. And on this camping trip, on a very bright night, they find something in the forest that represents their friendship and also solidifies their friendship. It's called The Brightest Night. It was the brightest night I'd ever seen. Under the full moon, George put out the campfire with the last of his cold tea. A puff of wet smoke arose from the sputter of flames, then ventured off into the woods. The night was so bright that even without a fire, you could still make out the leaves on every tree. We watched the last embers which flickered on, just like the sparkles cast by the moon out on the bay, dancing in an endless procession toward the horizon. In the brightest night, you can wander through the forest without a lamp. I saw my gangly shadow running ahead of my feet, here and there crossing with George's, colluding mischievously. While we walked, the moonlight gave shape to invisible things. We skipped over a cricket's chirps, threaded through an owl's hoo, and bounced off the whomp of a bullfrog. We were further from our camp now. George drew our crinkled map from his back pocket. Under the brightest night we'd ever seen, we glimpsed a faint path on the map which we had never seen in the stark light of day. George and I looked at each other without a word, then started in its direction. Where the path ended on paper, it appeared to us that certain boulders and ribbons of birch bark caught the light of the moon, marking a trail in mother of pearl, guiding us onward. We felt the coolness of the lake through the trees before we saw it. We had reached a small, sheltered cove. The moon's reflection was cradled in its black water, like a finely framed picture. I skipped a stone over the image. The circle of moonlight dispersed in all directions as a great ripple danced over the water's surface, a perfectly balanced pirouette that seemed to twirl on and on. When the ripple passed and the water fell still again, everything else followed. The crickets, owls, and bullfrogs held their singing, and the breeze hushed with the last flick of my hair which settled on my brow. And I swear, in that glassy black water, I saw our own moonlit faces reflected. Except George and I were both 100 years older, and by the wrinkled smiles looking back at us, I was sure that 100 years later, the two of us were still the best of friends. I turned from the picture and looked at the real George, 100 years younger. His eyes met mine, and they were wide, glistening in the moonlight of the brightest night we'd ever seen. We started our way back to camp. In the brightest night, the moon outshone every star except one, and we followed it. It led us back like a hunter's truest arrow. George and I still camp out in this country, but never again since has it been the brightest night, at least not so bright as to reveal again the shining path, the secret cove, and the single guiding star. But on any night, I can look into George's deep eyes, and they're as bright as the full moon in the sky. So, a couple of facts about that story. I wrote the story when I was on a solo camping trip at Norse Cove. That's near Tangier on the eastern shore of Nova Scotia. It's also in an area that the Mi'kmaq call Westbigia, which means the water shines. And I didn't know about that when I was writing the story. I looked it up afterwards and was struck by how special that description is. The illustrations were done in charcoal and oil pastel. And that required a little exploration on my part because it wasn't a medium that I was perfectly familiar with at the time. And I was lucky enough to do that exploration with the help of my mentor, Steve Higgins, through a mentorship program with Visual Arts Nova Scotia. So the work was presented for the first time as a gallery exhibition at the Craig Gallery in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And it's also something that I'd love to see in book form one of these days. My first picture book is slated to be published in 2023. The details for that are still a little under wraps, but I hope to be able to share more about it soon. If you're interested in finding out about it, you can follow me at my website, jackwong.ca, or on Instagram or Twitter at this handle below. All right, thanks so much for having me.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Zhang. I'm a first-generation Chinese-Canadian immigrant and a children's writer based in Ottawa, Ontario. I love writing for kids of all ages. My projects include picture books, which are fully illustrated storybooks for children 4 to 8 years of age, and also middle grade novels for readers 9 to 12. The current project that I'm really excited about is a modern fantasy middle grade novel. which is about a Chinese girl called Wen who gets to meet the legendary Chinese mythical hero, the Monkey King. And she learns that she needs to save the world with the help of the Monkey King. And she goes on these pretty crazy and funny adventures. So I'm still working on the draft itself, but I would like to share a part of the opening from this story so I can give you a sense of the plot and the characters. Thank you for listening. The curtain was drawn, closed, over the sliding door to the balcony. Against the backlight of street lamp, I see a shadow looming behind the glass panel. It's moving, knocking. My heart pounds like a mad elephant. Right then, the shadow disappears. Gone. Like it was never there in the first place. I rub my eyes. Am I dreaming? I pinch my thighs super hard. Ouch! That hurts. This is not good. Something more scary happens in the next moment. The shadowy figure appears right in front of me, breathing into my face. I could see its wiry brown hair spurting from the forehead and framing its cheeks. It has the face of a monkey. No, a human boy. No, both at the same time. A sly grin stretches over its thin lips. Its eyes twinkle like two ruby fires, flickering gold with each blink. Ghost? Demon? Panic floods over me. I tumble backward against the wall and try to scream for help. But the stranger swiftly covers my mouth before any sound could leak out. I feel its dreadful, fairy fingers tickle my cheek. Is he going to kidnap me? Rob my home? Why have I never taken any kung fu lessons? Shh, little girl, don't be scared. I'm not a kidnapping or child-eating monster. The creature taunts me in a raspy voice, as if reading my thoughts. I'm the magnificent, undefeatable, amazingly clever, revered protector of heroes, and the most handsome Monkey King, Sun Wukong. I gasp with disbelief. It's Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, my superhero since childhood. I stare at him in total awe. Haha, stunned by my handsome face? I tend to have that effect on girls, Wukong chuckled. I try but fail to make a sentence. I want to ask him so many questions. I don't even know where to start. Like, where did he live after visiting Buddha in India? Did he get a promotion in heaven? Did he get into more trouble? Where are his friends and his teacher, the monk Tang? And of course, why on earth is he here? Let me guess, you want to know why I'm gracing your life with my presence today. Wukong floats up and dangles his legs in midair. I nod vigorously. Got any bananas? Wukong asks. What? I'm caught off guard. You know, those curly yellow-skinned fruits that grow in bundles on fan-leaf trees? Wukong sounds a bit annoyed. Oh, yes. But why? Didn't your parents teach you it's good manners to serve drinks and snacks to your esteemed guests? Oh, sorry. I rush into my tiny kitchen and grab a bag of ripe bananas off the counter. Good thing Mom bought bananas this week. Your Highness, please enjoy. Wukong's eyes sparkle with delighted madness. I've dreamed of holding you in my hands for the last 500 years. Today I finally get to taste you again. He carefully peeled back the thick skin, sniffing the fragrant white flesh, and bites off a tiny piece. Yum! The sweetest and most delicious fruit in the universe. Just like how I remembered. He chomps and gobbles down the banana noisily, licking his fingers in the process. Then he swallows the banana peel whole. I watch him devour another banana, then another, yet another. My eyes remain glued to his chipmunking face. I'm sure of one thing. Just like the other monkeys, Sun Wukong loves bananas. Hey kid, got any more of those? Sorry, that's all the bananas left in our house. Get me more soon. Or show me where you get these from. I picture the fruit aisle in a supermarket in Chinatown. How do I tell him those bananas came from our local grocery store? Sure, I'll buy more from the banana farmer for you. I clear my throat. Now, Your Highness, will you kindly tell me why you're gracing my humble home today? I'm afraid it's a long story, kid. Sit tight.
I was born in Beijing, China, living there for 48 years. Then I moved to Nova Scotia. Hui Zhou is my name here, and Zhou Hui is also my name, but in China. There, family name goes first. I'm a nonfiction writer, author, with over 30 years science background. I grew up in a big family with parents, grandparents, my mother's side, some uncles, aunts, and cousins. My grandparents influenced me the most. This is a very old family photo taken in 1960. Grandpa, Grandma, cousin Lily, 2 years younger than I, and me on the ground. One of Grandpa's hobbies was gardening. So in my childhood, flowers, trees, grass, bushes, creeping creatures, and flying insects are all my natural friends. In the background in the photo was a huge monk orange bush, fully blooming in the corner of our garden-like courtyard. Grandma was a housewife. She could neither read nor write, but she taught us by her selflessness and hard working. There were always hens in the coop, in the yard. Every day, I wait for when Grandma said, "It's ready to check the eggs." I would be the one racing to the coop. So I had a long-held dream. After I grew up and lived in concrete buildings, I had many books in my childhood. There are some of them I carefully kept for probably over 50 years. You can tell most of them are about animals. I love animals. When I was little, Mom often read for me. When I grew up, she borrowed many books from the library at her workplace. I believe reading was a bridge to my writing. At grade 7, a teacher identified my writing skills. Often, my homework assignments were read as good examples in the class. But also, Grandpa's garden cultured my love for nature. For a bachelor degree, microbiology, all the living things I can see by naked eye, was my particular interest. My major was entomology, the study about insects. After the graduation, and before I moved to Nova Scotia, I had worked on vector biology. What it is? It is a study about disease-carrying insects, for example, mosquitoes, fleas, and some arthropods. For example, ticks. Ticks are not insects. Later, I worked on instrumentation analytical chemistry. In Canada or in Nova Scotia, a master's degree thesis brought me back to my favorite field, entomology. It was a study about a beetle, black viper. However, after graduation, my fate led me to totally different fields, assisting medical research. For example, drug delivery by nasal through rats. Niemann-Pick type 2 disorder especially happened in llamas here, through mites, and human blood coagulation. Along this multi-science journey, my writing skills grow too. My first essay, titled Mock Orange Blossom about my childhood, was published in 1996 in Beijing Evening News, a local newspaper. It was for a nonfiction contest. Many more personal essays since then have been published in print media in China, and since 2006 in Canada. After my long-held chicken dream had come true, Running Wild with Bossy Boy, a creative nonfiction book for children, was published in 2018. It focuses on chickens' personalities. Chickens do have personalities. Through many interesting stories of 15 chickens my friend Bob and I raised in his beautiful country yard near St. Margaret's Bay. In the book, there are 70 story-matching photos chosen from what I took for the chickens. As a social birds, chickens do many things together: scratching for worms, taking dirt baths, stretching out under the sun, crowding on an old wooden bench, or roosting on tall trees. All together, they are happy chickens. However, being individuals, they have different personalities, or to them, chickenalities. For example, Bossy Boy. At the beginning, he has showed his natural talent for looking after others. He's not only a boss, but a caregiver and a god for his whole family. Based on their personalities or their features, every chicken in the book has a suitable name. How complicated Is rooster pink feet? What faint-hearted characters does timid hen have? Why are these two hens named Tweedledee and Tweedledum after the movie or the book? And why does poor little have a specially designed sweater? The answers and the more interesting characters are in the book. The book also implies these beautiful chicken personalities can only be observed when chickens run freely. They are lucky chickens compared with billions fed in body-sized cages as egg layers or meat birds, overweighted in only 2 months. Beside the book, the meaning is all chickens deserve a natural life.